I am all about making beautiful landscapes and increasing the size of my gardens, but all while doing it on a budget. When we talk about budget gardening, some of the things that come up are overwintering our plants or propagating new plants. And so I want to get into a few more plants that I'm propagating for overwintering, and they're so easy that you could do it too. Hi, you guys. This is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in Growing Zone 8B in coastal North Carolina at the bottom of the state. I have two plants that I want to talk to you about today, one of which I've propagated a million times very successfully in the way that I'm going to show you, and the other one is something that I'm new to, but it should be very easy to do. So we are talking about the snake plant and the sweet potato vine. This is a fabulous time of year to do propagation for overwintering because largely, on average, our plants are going to take about 4 weeks to show us roots by propagating in water, which is what we're talking about doing today. So if that's the case, and it takes us about 4 weeks to get roots, and then we want to transfer our rooted cuttings into soil and have them get developed before it's time to put them out into our landscape, again, fabulous time of year to do it. So this sweet potato vine that you see here in my hands is something that I have propagated in soil before, but just never in water before. And it's been so super easy because this plant just wants to multiply. And basically, anytime I have it draping on the ground, I have more examples of another variety here, as well as in this pot arrangement right here. Once it drapes onto the ground and touches the soil, it just wants to root immediately. So when I did a simple little search to see how easy it was to root a sweet potato vine in water, it says it's super duper easy. And interestingly, even though a lot of cuttings that I take and root in water take like 4 weeks, supposedly it only takes about 1 week for a sweet potato vine to root. So I don't know if that's accurate, but I'm certainly doing it because these vines are so amazing as drapers in our pot arrangements that I would love to just have more and more and more growing. So the sweet potato vine is really only zone hardy like 9+, so definitely not something I could keep in my landscape throughout the entire winter, but I'm definitely going to be growing this inside my garden tub in my bathroom, my favorite place to propagate and overwinter, as well as inside my greenhouse. To get this sweet potato cutting to root in water, I am going to give myself a good 6 to 8 inches of stem cutting here. And I'm going to cut just below a leaf node. A leaf node is the space where the leaf grows out of the stem. And I will be taking this off as well. Now, the instructions are simple. They're just like propagating most other clippings of things. I do want to take these extra leaves off because they are not going to help promote my root growth. And we want the energy of this plant to go into the root growth and not continuing to grow the leaves out. Now, if it only takes a week, I'm going to get back to you on that later. That will be really amazing because I can have so many more sweet potato vine plants than I already have. Again, rooting it in soil is easy, so why not? The snake plant is another plant that I highly encourage you to propagate if you like the look of it, if you feel like it would go great in maybe plant arrangements. Maybe you want to have it as an indoor plant because this is an air purifying plant, or even keep it out in your landscape during the warmer months of the year. The snake plant is something I've propagated so many times because my forte is easy to propagate plants, easy to grow, easy to root. By the way, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do that because if you like the kind of content that I provide, this will ensure that my videos continue to show up in your feed. So the snake plant can be divided up, like I could take this plant out of the pot and actually break up the roots, divide up the plant, and then more growth will start coming from that root system, and more and more and more pots of this plant can be created. However, an alternative to that might just simply be clipping off a piece of your snake plant, one of the leaves, and going ahead and putting it right into water where it can root. And you can see it. Not only do I have a beautiful root system here, but I also have a pup right here on these roots. And I've done this so many times in my jars of glass, in my glass jars of water. And I have two different kinds of snake plant here. This has the yellow edges. I don't know the proper name for it. And then this is just a baby from here. So I would like to share with you some footage of the propagation method that I used successfully, where I explain in a little bit more detail how I went about it.
So you may have noticed that I am inside of a bathtub right now. I have this garden tub in my master bathroom that no one ever uses, and it happens to have a huge window, and all the plants that I have love being here. So if I don't feel comfortable leaving things in the greenhouse, or maybe I don't have room for them out there, I grow things in my garden tub. So just being honest with you. The next plant I want to show you is the snake plant. When you take a piece of the snake plant, just a simple cutting will do. Let's see if I have a good example here. I have so many roots now, I don't want to break anything trying to take it out. Maybe out of this one. I had this branch right here. This piece of snake plant, I just cut right along the bottom. It had no roots at all. I was able to take this, simply put it into water. It began to root, and then it also began to grow pups. So now I have a whole brand new plant that could go inside dirt if I wish. Now, to root a snake plant in water, one of the rules that I have always followed is putting stones at the bottom of your jar. And that is so that the cut frond from the plant doesn't directly touch the bottom of the glass jar. Instead, it's able to kind of be up a little up higher, and then the roots begin to come down to where the rocks are. So I have had major success growing my snake plants directly in jars of water. Something that I would like to point out with the snake plant and other plants as well, when you're rooting them in water, a lot of people do worry that the plant is going to suffer from root rot or get too soggy or mushy. And let me just explain one little thing, especially about the snake plant. The snake plant, if the soil it's sitting in is damp all the time and it doesn't get proper air circulation, it will get root rot and you will see the fronds start to turn to mush. However, if you put it in water and you're changing your water out weekly so that the plant is receiving a sufficient amount of oxygen inside the water, that is actually going to keep the plant very healthy. So I know it can sound very confusing, but it's the soggy soil part that is more likely to rot a plant when the plant is able to root itself in water. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because that was a lesson I learned with my snake plant.
Now, as you have just heard from my growing experience, which is extensive because, again, I've propagated the snake plant many times, it is not complicated at all. If I go ahead and Google that, how do I propagate a snake plant cutting in water? It seems a lot more complicated. It's like telling me about, I don't know, making sure the climate's warm enough or making sure this, that, and the other thing. I am not that particular, and it works for me over and over and over. And I wouldn't just say that to you if I didn't have that experience, but I don't think we need to overcomplicate that process. It's a simple snip. It's simply placing it in water, putting rocks at the bottom so the roots have space to grow. That is it. We're making sure the water stays clean, etc. But again, don't go Googling it and look for these results that are overly complicated and then it scares you into not doing it. So speaking of snake plants, while this next little part has nothing to do with the propagation, it does have to do with the care of a snake plant. So snake plants are kind of the plants you can neglect a bit. You don't want to water them too much because they can suffer from root rot inside wet soil. Again, this is not a rooting issue in water. This is an issue when the soil is too wet. So I have that problem here because this snake plant pot received way too much water and I have a lot of damage on the plant here. So I need to actually empty this out. Now, luckily, I have so many propagations of this plant. I can change out the soil, make sure everything is all nice and fresh in there, and then pop a new plant completely in there. I'll look and see if any of these pieces are salvageable, but my big project now, unfortunately, while the afternoon sun is hitting me, is I need to clear this snake plant out. I had been thinking that my Dipladenia was not getting enough water and the snake plant was getting too much water. Well, now I can really see here as I empty out the snake plant's root system is so vast and so deep that of course it was sucking up all the water. So I'm sure my Dipladenia is now going to be a lot happier as I remove these roots, put in fresh soil. I still may do the combo of the snake plant with it, just a lot less, so it's a lot more under control, because these guys have been together for at least 3 years now, so it took a long time for it to get to this point, but whew, this was a big job. So I think for me, the bottom line here is whether we're trying to propagate or overwinter begonias or purple heart or sweet potato vines or snake plants, the point is, let's try to propagate anything we can. Let's save ourselves money in the garden. We don't have to be buying these plants year after year. And if there's something that you think you want to try, why not try rooting it? Oh my gosh, it's so fun. And I don't think there's really anything like as fulfilling as being like, look at what I just made. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all the support all the time. And until next time, happy planting.